Hi, I'm Melissa Thompson,
And I'm Adrienne Owen Jones.
and welcome to our very first episode. Today's episode is appropriately named The First Pancake, and we will get into that in just a little bit. But first, I want to start with an icebreaker.
I love an icebreaker.
Yes. Okay, so you know that we're both nerdy and we love to learn.
Yeah.
So tell me something that you've been learning lately that is interesting. Both it could be professional or personal.
Yeah. Just this morning, I learned that raccoons are rapidly being domesticated in
Oh,
urban areas.
okay.
And they can tell this because their snouts are shortening. And it's making them more docile. And
Mhm.
hopefully, fingers crossed, I could have a raccoon pet in the next 10 years because they're becoming domesticated enough.
I feel like of all of the people I know in the world that would have a domesticated raccoon, it would be you.
Absolutely. I need that. I would
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
How about you? What have you been learning?
Well, so far this spring, I have been focusing all of my energy or extra energy outside of work on my garden. So I have some raised beds and trying to do some cut flower raised bed and then some vegetables and other things. So hopefully in a couple months, I'll have some things to share with you.
Yeah.
Some cucumbers.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
wait
Yeah.
to try some salad toppings or
Yeah.
pickled vegetables. I don't know.
All of the
Very
things.
cool.
We'll see. And if all else fails, we'll just go to the farmer's market.
I love that.
Yes. Okay. So back to the episode. Today we're talking about the first pancake. So we have been talking about the first pancake for a while, and we've used that as a metaphor for some of the work that we do here at Success Labs, but also for this episode in and of itself.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause
What the
yeah.
heck is a first pancake?
First pancake. Okay, so let's pretend it's a Saturday morning and you've got extra time to cook some pancakes. You've got your batter, you've got your griddle, you've got your butter, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
That first pancake usually is terrible.
It sucks. It's the worst.
Yeah, it's because it's overcooked, undercooked. The batter might be too runny.
Yeah. My griddle's never hot enough. I'm
Yeah,
always like, just give me the pancake. And then I'm like,
yes,
I did not wait for enough bubbles.
all the
Yeah.
things. Yeah, so it's just one that you need to scrap,
Yeah.
or if it's cooked enough, throw to the dogs,
Yeah.
or your pet raccoon.
Yeah.
And but also we can use this metaphor as kind of just for anything that you're trying to start, whether that's a professional thing, a personal thing. It's just like sometimes you just got to get started.
Yeah, Brene Brown, I think it's the first person I heard use that phrase, and she also like references the shitty first draft.
Yeah.
Like the first version of a thing just not being good, but you
Yeah.
can learn so much from it.
Okay, but that concept of like just getting started is something that blocks a lot of humans and leaders in particular. So with what does that look like to you? What do you see? What does it look like when somebody is stalling or they're just not getting started because they're just so blocked by something?
Yeah, I mean, I s- I usually see this manifest a few ways. One, I think it's when people feel like they've got to have like everything planned out perfectly,
Mhm.
and it's like things never go according to plan. Like
Mhm.
best laid plans, are like plans that can actually be enacted.
Sure.
I think I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in a second, but like I think perfectionism comes into play. I think like death by committee comes into play, like wanting consensus and everybody to be on board. And it's like you're always going to be upsetting somebody,
Right.
And so that fear of conflict, I think sometimes gets in the way.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's all of those and probably more. I think that you talked about the perfectionism. I kind of lovingly call myself a recovering perfectionist. It still sneaks up every once in a while. This really got pulled out of my brain when I was in grad school, where I was told over and over and over, done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Because I wanted everything to be right. I wanted to be proud of it. I wanted to be able to get through all of the work
Yeah.
and then be able to look back and say, I did it the way I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And that perfectionism to me is not like the outcome is perfect, but like my setup and follow through is perfect. Like
Yeah.
I needed all of the data, I needed all of the information, I needed a perfect plan, and then
Yeah.
I needed to control that plan all the way to the end.
Yeah. So
So, yeah.
desire for control is also part of it. Like I think
Yeah.
that's part of why people don't just get started is like they feel like it's going to get beyond their control or they might have to hand something off to others.
And there's trust that is deeply or not, it's not too deep, it's just under the surface of if you don't trust somebody, you're not going to delegate or not going to give up part of the project.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
think that's exactly right.
So where do you think this is coming from? Like you at Success Labs, we work with a lot of leaders. We do coaching appointments, and we do a lot of leadership classes. Where do you think this is coming from? Like not just describing what it is, because that's what we just did, but like what is the diagnosis that's underneath this? Like why are leaders stalling?
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned the first one of feeling like you need perfect plans. I
Mhm,
think that people wait till they want more information,
mhm,
right? And sometimes I think that does mask perfectionism, but a lot of times I think that masks fear and risk aversion.
mhm.
I think that a fear of taking a risk is a big part of it. And it's like asking yourself, like, what's really the worst that can happen?
Right.
What's really the minimum amount of information I need to confidently move forward? So, um, there's the 70% rule. If you have
Mhm.
70% of the information, then you should be able to move forward. I've been watching Indian matchmaking, and Auntie Sima always says that, like, if they've got 70% of the criteria, move ahead. And I think that that's like you can apply that to the workplace.
But this there's this idea or the thought, whether it's true or not, and it might just be a fallacy or a narrative that I've made up in my own mind, that 70 per I mean, let's be very clear. As a adjunct faculty member at a local university, 70% is a C.
Yeah,
If I'm starting a project, I don't wanna make a C, I wanna make an A.
but why are you thinking about it like grading? Like
Well,
it's not apples to apples,
right, but that's what I'm getting at. If 70% still feels like you're missing a lot of the picture, but you're saying 70% is still a huge majority. It's enough to just get started.
Yeah, to me, it's like, you know, there's always going to be a certain amount of unknown.
Mhm,
And so, what do you need to know to move forward? One of
mhm,
the things that I love about the first pancake analogy is that it has the bias towards action and using that action as a learning experience.
mhm,
And so, when you're in a dynamic environment, in a fast changing environment, which I think everyone would agree that we are in,
mhm.
it's actually a greater risk to stay stagnant.
That's what I was just about. What's the invisible cost of inaction?
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's opportunity cost. I think that it's um, loss of momentum. I think
Mhm.
that stalling things out can reduce morale and team engagement.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, what do you think are some of the other costs?
I think, if you were leading a team or leading a project and you are not acting, it can also lead to, losing trust on a team
Mm,
because they're looking to you as the leader to get things started or get things moving or motivate people or just yeah, but the bias towards action is a phrase that you say, no offense, but kind of like flippantly, like it's something it's just a part of your brain, it's a part of your vocabulary.
I think I've got a low risk tolerance.
Right. Yeah, but bias towards action as a concept is something that you've been saying a lot more or, like, you've been saying it lately, and I've picked up on it, and I'm starting to think about it more. I don't know that that's, like, a concept that enough people understand.
Okay.
What's, like, the let's drill all the way back. What does a bias towards action mean or look like to you?
It's feeling comfortable making the next move. It's make a move, then make it right. It's take the next step. It's the ball is always in your court, right? So I think about it in the context of I used to lead sales teams. I used to lead fundraising teams. I've led sales teams. One of the things we would do in a pipeline meeting is say, okay, where are we on this client? And they'd say, well, a fundraiser or a salesperson might say, well, I've sent them the proposal. I'm just waiting for them to hear back. Well, when did you send it? Oh, last Friday. This is a Wednesday, let's say. Well, you do not let a whole week go by that you're losing momentum, you're losing opportunity. I guarantee you somebody else is following up,
Mhm,
right? And so how do you get the ball back in your court? What is one next move you can make to follow up in an intentional way,
mhm.
to add value to the conversation and the relationship? How do you keep the ball moving ahead? I'm not great at sports analogies,
I got
but
those for you, don't worry. Yeah.
it's to me, it's about momentum
Yeah.
and you feel momentum in an organization, and you feel stalling in an
Mhm,
organization when things aren't moving forward, when work's not moving forward, when tasks aren't being completed, then it creates ripple effects throughout the team, not just in terms of productivity loss
mhm,
or opportunity loss. Somebody else could go get that client, but also in terms of what you just talked about. Morale, teams feeling like they're lacking direction. Why are we still waiting? What am I supposed to be doing?
mhm. Right. Okay, something you said at the very beginning of that answer that I wanna go back to because I actually I kind of disagree with you, but I think that we're actually on the same page. You said getting comfortable getting started.
Yeah.
The getting comfortable part is the part that I kind of
Tell me more.
disagree with in a way, because your example about the sales teams, I've been doing that a lot with my own clients, like just sending emails and then waiting for a week or 2 to hear back from them and not hearing anything. And because I don't wanna be a nuisance, I don't wanna be a bother. That's like what I have in the back of my head, but I'm never going to feel comfortable bird dogging someone or just sending the email or like reaching back out or sending a text when the email didn't get responded to.
Why?
But that is a discomfort to me.
Yeah.
And so it's more about getting comfortable in the discomfort of acting. That's the way that I would interpret that.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, what I hear in that is a fear of failure.
Mhm.
And I think,
Or fear of rejection.
yeah, fear of rejection, fear of failure.
Or it's not even rejection, but it's like the silence is a form of rejection
Yeah.
if they don't respond.
One, how many emails do you forget to respond to? Probably none, but for me, plenty.
My inbox is zeroed out every day.
But like those are stories you tell yourself, right? And I
Right,
think that's
exactly.
part of this whole fear of bias towards action is you tell yourself a bunch of stories that are not necessarily founded in reality in known information. What do you truly know? What you know is you sent an email and they haven't responded.
Yeah.
So how do you gain information that will help you get clarity in how to move forward? Reaching back out helps you gain information. Did they just not read it yet? Is this not the right did I not offer the right thing? Was it too expensive? Like the more like information you can gather, the more you can move ahead. And so taking that bias towards action is how you get more information.
Right. Okay, this makes a lot of sense. I love this. So, no matter what the problem is, if you are stalling, if the project is stalling, if the team is stalling, that's the problem. The solution is basically developing and continuing to build muscle around the bias towards action.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think comfort in the discomfort is a really interesting point, and I see it come up a lot with team dynamics of not wanting to hurt someone's feelings because of what
Mm,
moving ahead might mean for their role in the project, not knowing what the unknowns might be. I've implemented technology projects in the past, and I've seen them really stall out when it might mean changing someone's workflow because
mm,
they think, oh, am I going to be eliminated? Is my role going to be eliminated if we change the way we do this? Is my
yeah.
role going to dramatically change and I might hate my work? And so getting people comfortable with saying, like, we're all on a team. We don't know what the outcome will be, but what I can guarantee is that the work will be better on the other side,
Yeah.
is usually where I guide people.
So I want to ask you this, and we'll come back to Brene Brown again because she's kind of our favorite. But when you think about why this matters, why developing this skill set, why does this matter for leaders? And I'm
Mm,
thinking about myself in particular when because we were talking about the perfectionism, and there might be some people watching or listening that would also call themselves perfectionists.
yeah.
What do why is this why how could this help somebody? Why does this matter so much to think about it?
I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think it's rather freeing to just get started and to be rewarded or recognized for just getting started
Yeah.
instead of stalling. I think that so there's that the vain part of it. The practical part of it is that you're never going to get anywhere if you don't just get started. It's n and I think the thing that's taken me a long time to realize as a perfectionist is that if you get started and get it wrong, that's at least more data.
That's right. That's
It's
exactly right.
not a setback, it's like just help for the
Yeah.
next time.
You learn, you iterate.
Yeah.
Like one of my phrases that I have on my desk is iteration is perfection.
Mhm.
And what that means to me is like getting really comfortable with that discomfort of failure. Like it's
Yeah.
actually great because you learn something that you can go forward and do the next time.
Yeah.
Um, you know, the other piece of it that I think about is when the world is changing so rapidly and changing so quickly, your opportunity window is narrower.
Mhm.
There are finite number and they're narrower, and so having that like trusting your gut and having that bias towards action is going to help you realize opportunities as they come up. Whereas with how rapidly things are changing, an opportunity window might be in front of you, but close by the
Mhm.
time that you decide to take action. And then, your competitor has gotten on top of it, or the technology has changed such that it's not relevant anymore
Mhm.
for you to develop this tool or this product or whatever. So
Mhm.
um, I think that it's particularly important in a really dynamic world to embrace.
Yeah. I wanna we're talking about this kind of in theory, but I'd love to hear about it in practice. So for you, do you have I'm kind of I'm asking you this, but I'm also willing to give an example myself. But can you think of like a small, practical, daily thing, task that you have not acted on, like that was stalling you, and then you switched towards a bias towards action, or and then maybe like a bigger one. And I can think of a couple already if you'd like some
You go
time to
first.
ponder. Okay,
Yeah.
so one is this is a really simple, like it's pretty small and practical, but lately I have been noticing that I was using Claude more than ChatGPT to
Mhm.
help me write things or get organized or just like have all my notes. And I kept saying like, this is going to be so hard to take everything out of ChatGPT and put it into Claude because I built
Yeah.
for the past 2 years, I've been using
Yeah.
ChatGPT and everything is there.
Yeah.
And at one point I was like, I'm not gonna be able to pull all this down. It's not gonna go away. Let me just let it stay there, and I'm gonna switch my membership to Claude, like, I'm gonna have the paid version of Claude, and I just started using it.
Yeah.
And I was worried about it not having all the context that ChatGPT did.
Yeah.
It is, like, in my brain.
Yeah.
I just did it,
Yeah.
and I'll build it as I go.
Can I tell you a secret just specific to that?
Well, yeah, I know that you can download it all now, and it's like
Yeah, Claude has like a whole tool. Yeah.
yes, but it was more than just the download and upload.
Yeah.
It was changing habits, changing patterns,
Yeah.
changing or like not having a bias towards action because I didn't think it would be the perfect thing anymore,
Right.
that I would have to
Yeah.
rebuild
I
something.
love that example.
Yeah, or maybe a bigger example is, waiting to get started on a project. Like, I needed all of the data, I needed all of the stuff, and it's like, "No, you just need to get started. You just need to send that first email. You
Mhm.
just need to set the first meeting."
That's right.
And, so that's a little bit bigger, less tactical, but
Yeah.
I've been trying to do that.
Yeah.
To me, it's so closely akin to growth mindset.
Mhm.
It's
What do you mean by that?
so okay, something that I've also heard Brené Brown talk about, and I use a lot in coaching with people, is when they're up against a decision, I ask them, where is the scary part coming from? Do you feel scared big or scared small?
Mhm.
Scared small, meaning like you feel like you're backed into a corner and having to make a decision. Scared big is, I don't know where this is going to go, but the
Yeah.
possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Growth mindset versus fixed mindset to me is
Mhm.
fixed mindset is, I can't do that. I don't know
Yeah.
how to do that.
Yeah.
Growth mindset is, I don't know how to do that yet.
Yeah.
Can you teach me? And that openness and a curiosity that I think it requires vulnerability and self awareness and self assuredness that comes with time and experience and age and all that. And so when I think about bias towards action or bias towards inaction or the first pancake, to me, it's like, I don't know everything, but I'm just going to get started. I'm going to take the first step and we'll see where we go.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, it's an overall, actually, instead of it being scary of not having all the information, it's actually freeing in a way because it's built on the premise of just being curious and asking the right questions and being open to whatever happens after you get started.
Yeah.
It's hopeful.
It absolutely is hopeful. I think that's right. I think
Yeah.
that's exactly right. I'd love to have a future conversation around growth mindset. Yeah, and I think that is critical to creating a culture with a bias towards action. It's
Mhm.
learner. It is a learner mindset. It is a growth mindset. It is we're excited to fail because we're going to learn something and iterate and improve for the next time.
Yeah. And a huge part of that is as a leader of a team, modeling that, but
Yeah.
coaching and rewarding for that. Like say that was a really great question that you asked. Thank you so much for asking it. Like little tiny things to model that curiosity that comes with action or growth.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's an interesting whole other sidebar of how do you incentivize for a bias towards action.
Yeah. Yeah. What does it look like for you? Do you have any examples that came to mind?
Any examples of where I've had to just like
Like you might have been stalling and then you were like, let me just act. Let me just go. You're a go person all the time anyway.
I am. My struggle is stick to itiveness,
Okay.
and so I think that's like a whole other conversation. But when things stall, that are, I will say, I think conflict comes into play, and that would probably surprise people. But where
Mm.
things stall for me is when I know it's going to be conflict to move it forward, and I don't have clear decision rights. So, like a practical thing I think people can do to make sure there's a bias towards action is having clear decision making rights. Like, who ultimately makes the call? What are the calls that are going to be made? I, that ambiguity is where I oftentimes find myself stalling out. Um, I think that this starting this episode is a perfect example of like what are the topics, who gets to decide the topics, who's going to be on the episodes, how long are they going to be, all of that. When you don't feel like you have 100% decision making rights, it becomes like death by committee, and
Mm.
that feels like I just don't want to talk to anybody. Like that's where
Yeah.
I think like it, people who have like a lone wolf mentality are really easy at having a bias towards action in their own work, and it's harder to do with team dynamics. And so that's like growth, has been growth for me, is learning how do I bring others along, how do I make sure that we have clear decision rights. The decisions don't even have to lie with me, but knowing where they lie is really helpful. And then accountability. Like I think accountability is really critical, of checking in and saying, how's it going? Or is this just running off the rails unattended? What have we learned so far? How are we recalibrating? How are we iterating? So for me, like standing meetings on the calendar really help.
Mhm.
Set agendas that how you're checking in on it. Um, and setting some kind of parameters. Like I love a 48-hour rule. Like we're going to sit on this for a finite amount of time, 48 hours, and then we're going to make a decision. If you haven't made a decision, I do this with my husband all the time. It's like if you haven't made a decision by this, then I'm just going to do this. And I think that applies in the workplace too.
Yeah. So you're talking about clear tactical things that you could do, and you mentioned the 48-hour rule. Are there others that we could implement as a team?
I think the decision making rights is a good
Decision
one.
making rights,
I
yeah.
think clear decision making rights. Um, I think that flipping the question, we say, oh, there's all this risk associated with just getting started. It's like, well, what's the risk of not getting started? What's the opportunity cost on the table? Um, what could we gain in the learning that we experience, even if it does fail?
Right. And full disclosure, this is the second time we've recorded this episode because our first time was a true first pancake,
Yeah,
which is where this whole
it
concept
was
came from.
not high res, and the cameras or the microphones weren't great. I don't know. The technology, was
Yeah.
was a foo bar.
And we had a plan
Yeah.
and it didn't go according to plan and we learned from it
Yeah,
and we're here
and
for
so guess what? Who cares? We learned. We're gonna try it again, and guess what? I think our future episodes will continue to be better because we'll find formats that feel comfortable, and topics that feel relevant. But we've already learned, and we're gonna continue to.
yeah. You mentioned accountability in particular, and I know that this could be an entire episode on its own, talking about how do you incentivize the bias towards action. What are some like super specific things that people could do? And and I remember our conversation. We had a staff meeting recently where you said instead of talking about who we're going to contact for business development, let's actually pull our computers in here and we're going to have a concentrated 30 minutes to everybody send 3 emails to people to set up meetings. So that to me is a very practical example.
Yeah.
Sit down and do the work together instead of talking about the work and expecting
Yeah.
people to do it on their own.
Who's gonna do what by when? There's a book by that title, and I love it because it says don't hold people accountable, don't hold accountability to people, hold accountability to tasks. Hold
Okay.
accountability to the work. So who's going to do what by when? And so make that clear. Who, Melissa, is going to do what? Contact these three specific clients by Monday. Yeah, Friday, whatever. Make it clear and specific. And then that's part of the accountability, is make it very clear who's doing what by when, and then follow back up. So saying, okay, did you make those contacts?
Right.
If not, why? What got in the way? How can we remove the barriers? How can we
Mhm.
maintain momentum?
And sometimes those barriers are, I just didn't have time, or I had other pressing work to do for other clients. But I think that the underlying thing is that something that we haven't maybe explicitly named is that that underlying thing is emotions like fear or fear of rejection or not having you might have the skill to do it, but not the will. And
Yeah.
where's that will missing?
Yeah. No,
Um,
I think that's fair.
so I think it. what you're also saying is there's a piece of the accountability that is the follow-up, but what that would require, again, a whole other episode, is the feeling of being safe if you were to say, like, I didn't meet that goal. I didn't hit that. And you've got to create a team environment where people feel safe to say, yes, I did that, and it be celebrated, or no, I didn't, and okay, let me help you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's hard to have a bunch of first pancakes, shiny first drafts if you don't have psychological safety on the team. And so I would say like psychological safety, team trust is really what I mean by that is the foundation of all of it,
Yeah.
is making sure that you're not creating an environment where there is fear of retribution for failure.
Yeah. Hmm. Now my brain's spinning on all kinds of things, but this is really helpful to hear very specific things. You also instituted it in our own staff meeting because we try to model this for ourselves. If we're asking our clients to do it, we need to be able to do it too. You also instituted we have annual goals and we are using the RACI matrix to make sure.
Who's doing what by when?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
But specifically, can you go through the letters of the RACI matrix? So, because there's
Sure.
there's there's an audience, there's several audiences that might need to be informed or involved at
Yeah.
certain
I
points.
think we could do a whole episode on accountability, but one of the really helpful accountability tools from a project management perspective is a RACI matrix, which stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. And what that really does is delineates roles and responsibilities and expectations in terms of, like I mentioned earlier, decision making rights. Like, where does ultimate accountability fall if this doesn't get done? Who makes the decisions on the project? Who determines what done looks like? Who is actually doing the work? So who's executing on it? And those might not be the same person. Consulted is who needs to be brought in and not just updated, but truly add value to the project in an intentional way. Um, and then informed is like who needs to be kept in the loop.
Yeah.
And so, if you start projects thinking about those things on the front end, that sets expectations for accountability. It clarifies decision making rights. And those are the two things that are going to really set you up for success and make sure that you're maintaining momentum.
Yeah. Well, I love a lot of structure and I like rules and things, but they're not actually rules. It's just like expectations, and it's clearly defining like who's doing what by when, so you can all be on the same page and moving towards
Yeah.
the goal line or
Yeah.
whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what did we talk about today?
Okay.
What can people take away from this
Yeah, well,
conversation?
what I hope they take away is that sometimes the first pancake is not great, and that's okay. You just have to get started. And what stalls leaders is we need to uncover what that is, what unpack that.
Yeah.
But the antidote to that is a bias towards action.
Yeah.
And bias towards action could look really technical and tactical and small, or it could look really big as well. But there are lots of tools and things that can help you lean towards that. And it's a practice that you have to, it's just like yoga. You're never going to be
Yeah.
perfect. It's
Yeah.
practice. And you got to keep working towards that. What other takeaways?
So that was a very,
Very fast.
no, what I was going to say is this is where our Myers-Briggs are going to come into play. That felt like, yeah, I'm going to talk about it from my high T perspective.
Okay.
Um, I think that I think you're exactly right. Like you just got to get started. I hope as people's takeaway. When we talk about diagnosing it, I want to like double click in on that. So some of the things we talked through in terms of diagnosing it, help me remember. It was one, you feel like you got to have best laid plans. Two, it might be perfectionism.
Right.
Three, it might be feeling like you're going to upset the apple cart with the team and getting team buy-in.
Or not even knowing that it's your task to start.
Yeah, that too. So lack of role clarity,
Mhm.
I think that's a great one. Anything else in terms of diagnosing what might have you stalled?
Yeah, there's so many. It could be that you don't know enough. There's missing skill or missing will. There's missing guidelines. There's missing motivation to get started, whether that's internal or external. All kinds of things.
Okay,
Not
those are
getting
great.
enough feedback. Not being knowing that your boss is going to ask you about it one time, but there's no accountability, and they never ask about it again.
Right.
All
So
kinds of
a lack of
things.
accountability
Yeah.
could definitely be part of it. Um, okay, and so then some of the solutions that we talked through and how to implement is like just get started.
Just do it.
We talked about like the 48-hour rule. So if it's, put a timeline on when the decision is going to be made, clarifying the accountability. So who's going to do what by when,
Flipping the question.
flip the question. So instead of saying like, what are the risks to doing this imperfectly? What are the risks to not getting started? What is the opportunity cost?
Mhm.
What else? Anything else?
And I think one thing that we didn't talk about, but I think is a really good. If I'm a my Myers Briggs is also a T, but I think that I have to lean into the F, the feeler part of it. But creating psychological safety for a team to
That's
be
right.
able to
I think
experience
that's exactly
the
right.
failure or setbacks or just stalled momentum, and then also incentivizing, rewarding, and positively affirming action. It's kind of like I joke that adults are just grown up kids. We're just grown up toddlers, and sometimes we need some positive reinforcement, and we need some cheerleading. We need to feel good about what we're doing, even when we don't get it right. We're still making progress.
Totally. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
This is our first pancake.
yay, we did it.
Yay for a first
I'm
pancake.
excited to talk about more next time. But if people want to learn more about Success Labs and what we do, how do they do that?
Yeah, I would go first to our website, successlabs.com. And then also, we are on all social media platforms, particularly on LinkedIn and Instagram, where we share more insights and practical tools and tips and resources to help leaders, teams, and organizations reach their full potential.
Yeah, at Success Labs.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Good job.